Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Arthur Schopenhauer. Arthur Schopenhauer, born February 22, 1788 to September 21, 1860, was a German philosopher and the founder of voluntarism. His thoughts had a profound influence on modern academic and cultural circles. Unlike his contemporaries Fichte, Schelling, and Hegel, Schopenhauer did not eliminate the thing in itself. He inherited Kant's distinction between the thing in itself and representation, believing that it can be known through intuition, and identify it as will. Schopenhauer believed that will is independent of time and space. It also includes all reason and knowledge. We can only get rid of it through meditation. Schopenhauer linked his famous philosophy of pessimism to this doctrine, arguing that being dominated by the will ultimately only brings nothingness and suffering. His repressed, distorted understanding of the mind's surrender to organs, desires, and impulses inspired later psychoanalysis and psychology. Let us appreciate Arthur Schopenhauer's quotations. Talent hits a target that others cannot. Genius hits a target that others cannot see. To live alone is the destiny of all great souls. The doctor sees all human weakness, the lawyer all evil, the theologian all folly. Every day is a little life, a little birth in every wake and rise, a little youth in every fresh morning, a little death in every rest and sleep. The greatest folly is to sacrifice health for any other type of happiness. A person can do what he wants to do, but not what he wants to do. Compassion is the basis of morality. The less intelligent a person is, the less mysterious existence appears to him. Treat your art like a prince. Let it speak to you first. Everyone regards the limitations of his own vision as the limitations of the world. For those of limited ability, humility is simply honesty. But for those with great talent, this is disingenuous. Every separation heralds the taste of death, and every reunion heralds resurrection. Music is melody and its text is the world. Sleep is the interest we have to pay on the capital that needs to be paid out on death. The higher the interest rate, the more frequently the payments are made and the further back the redemption date is. Only change is permanent, eternal, and immortal. In their search for gold, the alchemists discovered many other more valuable things. Sacrificing pleasure to avoid pain is clearly a gain. Nearly all of our sadness stems from our relationships with other people. I've never known any trouble less than an hour's worth of reading without relief. Boredom is just the other side of infatuation. Both depend on being outside rather than in a situation, one leading to the other. In our monogamous world, getting married means one's rights are halved and one's obligations are doubled. Wealth is like seawater, the more we drink, the thirstier we become, and so is fame. Great men, like eagles, build their nests in sublime solitude. Martyrdom is the only way a man can become famous without ability. Rogues are always sociable, what a pity. The chief mark of something noble in a man's character is the little pleasure he takes in the company of others. To save a person from his mistakes is to give, not to take away. It is in dealing with trivial matters that one shows what they are. Everyone regards the limitations of his own vision as the limitations of the world. All truth passes through three stages. First, it was laughed at. Second, it is fierce opposition. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. A person can only be himself when he is lonely. If he does not love loneliness, he will not love freedom, because only when he is lonely is he truly free. Money is human happiness in the abstract, therefore, no longer able to enjoy human happiness in the concrete, he devotes himself entirely to money. Human beings are born to be indifferent to each other, but women are born to be enemies. Contentment lies in freedom from pain, which is a positive element of life. The first 40 years of life give us scripture, the next 30 provide commentary on it. Suicide, they tell us, is the greatest form of cowardice. Suicide is wrong. It is clear that nothing in the world is more invulnerable than his own life and character. Nature shows that as intelligence increases, so does the capacity for suffering, and that only with the highest degree of intelligence can suffering reach its highest point. Wise men always say the same thing, while the majority of fools always do the opposite. After you die, you will be who you were before you were born. Religion is a masterpiece of the art of taming animals because it trains people how to think. Buying books would be a good thing if people also took the time to read them, but often, buying books is mistaken for appropriation of their content. There is no doubt that life is given to us, not to enjoy, but to overcome, to be overcome. The two enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. The discovery of truth is more effectually prevented, not directly by weakness of the reasoning faculty, but by preconceived opinions, through prejudice, than by a false appearance of things. Willpower is to the soul like a strong blind man carrying a lame man who can see on his shoulders. Friends and acquaintances are the surest passport to wealth. Evil thoughts and wordless efforts gradually left their mark on the face, especially on the eyes. Hatred is a matter of the heart, contempt of the head. Every country laughs at other countries and everything is right. Suffering, natural or accidental, never seems so painful as suffering imposed on us by the arbitrary will of others. The basis of all our knowledge and learning is inexplicable. Politeness is to human nature what warmth is to wax. We give up 3/4 of ourselves to be like everyone else. Honor means that a man is not exceptional. Reputation, he is. Reputation is something that must be earned. Honor is something that cannot be lost. Honor doesn't have to be earned, it just can't be lost. Every possession and every happiness is lent only by chance for an indefinite period of time, and may therefore be demanded back the next hour. In the sphere of thought, absurdity and perversity remain the masters of the world, and their reign is suspended only for a brief period. For an author to speak and write at the same time is as reprehensible as the opposite error, to write as he writes, for it gives a pedantic effect to what he says, and at the same time renders him incomprehensible. Will minus intelligence constitutes vulgarity. In action, a great heart is the first qualification. At work, a great mind. Schopenhauer's life and story. Arthur Schopenhauer was born on February 22, 1788 in Danzig, Poland, Lithuania, Commonwealth, now Gdansk, Republic of Poland. His father, Heinrich Floris Schopenhauer, was a wealthy businessman, and his mother, Johanna Schopenhauer, was a well-known writer at the time. His father committed suicide by drowning in his early years, and Schopenhauer blamed his mother. Coupled with the conflict in lifestyle, Schopenhauer and his mother were at odds throughout his life. Schopenhauer received education in England and France in his early years and was able to speak fluently in many European languages such as English, Italian, Spanish and ancient languages such as Latin. He was initially forced to choose business to inherit his father's business, and it was only after his father's death that he was able to enter university. In 1809 he entered the University of Göttingen and initially studied medicine, but later shifted his interest to philosophy. In 1811, he studied in Berlin for a period of time, and from then on he became interested in Fichte and Schleiermacher. He received his PhD with On the Fourfold Root of the Principle of Sufficient Reason. Goethe admired this article very much, and at the same time discovered Schopenhauer's pessimism tendency, and warned, "If you love your own value, then give more value to the world." Schopenhauer regarded Plato as a god and Kant as a miracle, and greatly respected the ideas of these two men. But he hated the speculative philosophy later represented by Fichte and Hegel. Between 1814 and 1819, he completed his representative work The World as Will and Representation in Intellectual Solitude. This work was influenced by Indian philosophy and is considered to be the first work to integrate Eastern and Western ideas, but it was published. No one cared about it afterwards. Schopenhauer said this about his book: "If I am not worthy of this era, then this era is not worthy of me." But with this work, he obtained the qualification of a non-staff professor at the University of Berlin, where he famously chose to teach at the same time as Hegel, whom he regarded as a sophist seeking fame. But Hegel was at the peak of his fame, and Schopenhauer naturally failed to succeed, and soon there were only 2 or 3 people left in his class, and not a single one was left. On August 25, 1831, a major cholera outbreak broke out in Berlin. Schopenhauer originally planned to leave Berlin with his then lover, but the other party refused him on the grounds of taking care of his family. The two eventually parted ways, and Schopenhauer fled Berlin alone. Hegel died of cholera in Berlin on November 14 of the same year. In 1841, he published a collection of 2 papers, on the freedom of the will and on the foundations of morality. The first paper was a prize-winning paper from the Royal Norwegian Academy of Sciences, the second was a prize-winning paper from the Danish Academy of Sciences, so he solemnly explained that the first paper was praised by the Academy of Sciences, but the second paper was not praised by the Academy of Sciences. In subsequent books, he repeatedly ridiculed the Danish Academy of Sciences. After he became famous, the Danish Academy of Sciences also became a laughingstock for a while. But this book is also almost unknown. In 1844, at his insistence, the second edition of The World as Will and Representation was published. The first edition was long out of print and failed to attract the slightest interest from critics or academics, and the second edition found few buyers. In 1851, he completed the supplements and explanations to The World as Will and Representation. The result was this appendix and supplement written in aphoristic style, which gained him reputation and made him an instant celebrity. Some people wrote the Great Dictionary of Schopenhauer and the complete works of Schopenhauer, and some commented that he was a thinker of world significance. In 1859, the third edition of The World as Will and Representation caused a sensation. Schopenhauer said that all Europe knows this book. He wrote in the preface of the third edition, "When this book was first published, when it came out, I was only 30 years old, but when I saw the third edition, I couldn't have been earlier than 72. Finally I found comfort in Petrarch's famous saying, 'Whoever walks all day and comes home in the evening is also its time to be content.'" Schopenhauer finally gained popularity in the last 10 years, but he still lived a solitary life, accompanied only by a few poodles, among which Atman in Sanskrit means soul. The named one is the most familiar. In 1860, Schopenhauer died of worsening pneumonia. In his last words, he said, "I hope that people who like my philosophy can understand my philosophy impartially and independently." Welcome to subscribe to my channel. Luck and love are with you.